It's time to ditch the excuses. Get up, get out, and shut the f*** up. This is the Adjusting to Six Figures podcast.
All right, and we're live. Rory Douglas, what's happening, man?
Man, I'm excited, Jeremy. How you feeling there, buddy?
Man, I'm feeling good. Like I was saying before we went on, man. Today is just one of those days where I'm firing on all cylinders today, man, and I'm not missing. Haven't missed yet today. You know, no fires need to be put out, and you know it's man. I wanted to tell you, man, congratulations on the TikTok following, man. Are you at 1 million at this point?
Yeah, I'm close to 1 million, and it's only been on TikTok about 6 months, but I'm close to 1 million.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. 6 months and you're almost up to 1 million.
Yes, and that's a funny story because I didn't intentionally go on TikTok. My daughter was campaigning for me to get on TikTok, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to get on it because it's pretty much an entertainment type of app.
Right.
And one day I was talking to a few of my clients, so she taped me, unbeknownst to me, and she put a part of the clip out there, and it went viral. Once I think people wanted to hear what I was saying, I just jumped onto it. So now everything is just great. I'm just rolling with it. And a lot of people are getting information.
I'm a bit like you, I guess, in that way, because, you know, with me and my business and throwing myself out there, I just figured, TikTok, that's like younger kids are into that. I'm not, what do I, have to provide to, teenagers and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got grandmothers on TikTok, man. I was in the Stone Ages. Things are changing.
That's the same. Yeah. So I started getting into it, and you were one of the first, because I've been on TikTok. I've been looking on TikTok for maybe just a couple months.
Yes.
And, you were one of the first guys I found on there, and I liked your stuff. So, because you have kind of a no bullshit mentality, in my opinion. You throw it out there, you put the information out there, no apologies. And it's almost like, you need to wake up and get smart about your financial literacy, because if you're losing money, you put your tonality, the way you throw it out there, it makes you say, shit, what am I doing? The passion in your voice. So yeah,
you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head, man. It's funny because you heard that passion coming from me, man, because I really care, first of all. And I will tell you this, before the pandemic, Jeremy, the average American was 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless, and 1 out of 3 Americans in debt. And the average American family cannot even handle a $400 emergency. Yet we're in one of the richest countries in the world, but it's really not a money problem. It's a literacy problem. So that passion is coming from me, is to say to people, hey, wake up, get educated. That's what it's all about.
What do you think you think that's from schools? You think who can we put that blame on? Is there is all that blame just on ourselves? Or, I mean, they should be teaching this in school. They to some degree.
Yes. I'll tell you this here. I'm the type of person, I believe that wherever there's a problem, there's an opportunity. So even though all of this is going on, and I know that, we go to school for about 14 years and never learn anything about mathematics, really financial literacy, home economics. We don't learn any of that for 14 years. So, I think that the way our system is set up is that, we talk education. However, in America, a school teacher can barely make a living, but boxers or entertainers or other people in other fields in general make millions. So education is really the key. Why is it that, a teacher can barely make a living? So to answer your question, I also think at times, is it because, the system wants us to be dumbed down, or I call it information. There's a big difference between information and being information. So I see a lot of people are information, which means we're following a pattern, a system, and it's just generation after generation, a lack of financial education, a lack of access, all of that. And I believe that through all of this, it gives me the motivation and the drive to be able to help a lot of people in a dark place. That's the fun part about it. So I always look at it on the fun side. It's a big problem, but it's something that we can solve collectively. That's why I'm out talking to a lot of people, man, every single day. I want to talk to everybody. It doesn't matter if it's, black, Chinese, Asian, white. To me, it's all about wrong and right. That's what it's all about, wrong and right. And it's actually correcting a wrong that has been done to society.
It's conditioning, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's long-term conditioning that's starting from that those early developmental ages. It's so tough to talk to some people. I mean, you know way more than I do, but even the little bit that I know, it's so hard. Like family members, people you've grown up with, people that are just living within their means. It's so hard to try to get them to wrap their head around these now basic financial concepts, because we've been taught to get a good job, right? Work your way up, put money aside, and somehow that's going to make you wealthy in this skewed definition of wealth.
And what you just said, you have just described what I call the 40-40-40 club, the 40-40-40. The average American works about 40 hours a week, works for 40 years, and then try to retire off of 40% of their income. Most have to go back to work.
Yeah. Yep. And get caught with their pants down late in life.
Yep. And that's the story. But I think right now, through technology, people like yourself, I'm looking at your podcast and what you're doing, man. You're helping a lot of people, and it's passion coming from you. And I think that the world is changing rapidly. So I'm just really excited, man. My whole motto is 90% of winning is simply excitement. I want to tell all of the listeners and those who are looking, 90% of winning in life is simply excitement. You got to get excited and make a change in your life.
This episode of the Adjusting to Six Figures podcast has been brought to you by Adjuster University. If you've ever been in a car accident or a major medical procedure, then you've probably encountered a claims adjuster before, but probably never thought much of it. I know I didn't, until I found out that there was a little bit more to the job of a claims adjuster than what met my eye. Now, while there's claims adjusters that are salaried by the insurance carriers, those insurance carriers are also supported by a team of freelancers. These freelancers act as independent contractors that help the insurance carrier facilitate their claims to keep their customers happy. These freelancers are called independent adjusters. Independent adjusters don't work for the insurance carriers, they work for themselves. That means they get to set their own schedule and decide what type of work they want to do. Best of all, independent adjusters, especially the ones that are interested in traveling across the country, can earn over $250,000 a year as an independent insurance adjuster. This is not network marketing. This is not an affiliate program. There's no pyramid involved. This is just a super niche industry that few people actually know about. And this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a get-rich over a long period of time combined with hard work and commitment. If you're looking for some easy way to make six figures a year or even over $250,000 a year without having to do much work or put in much effort, then this definitely isn't for you. But if you feel like you're a hard worker and you can get started running your own small business as an independent insurance adjuster, then this is the program for you. If this sounds like something that you're ready to commit to or even just learn a little bit more about, then head over to adjuster-university.com/get started to sign up to our next introductory class. Once again, that is adjuster-university.com/get started and sign up to a free introductory class so that you can learn more about this niche industry called independent insurance adjusting.
Man, and even going back to your follower count, I mean, who knows? Out of those, let's just say 1 million, who knows out of those 1 million people that are following you, there's going to be a certain amount of people that follow you that don't just follow you, they follow a whole bunch of other, guys that are, guys and girls that are teaching financial literacy and different, tax and, all different fields of finance, and they're just consuming all of it. That's like me. I know things already, but then I listen to your stuff and you might tell me a thing or two that I already know. Then you'll hit me with something that I don't know. And then I'll do some research on it. And now I'm just getting smarter. But how many people out of it's not 0%, but there's a percentage of people that are following you right now and you're their guy. They're not following anybody else. And if it were not for them finding you, however TikTok, if TikTok works, I don't know yet. But if it wasn't for them finding you, following you, and watching your videos and picking up on these things like the rule of 72 and all these like real the entry level financial tips, if it weren't for you being out there, they wouldn't have that. And the way they were able to get in front of you through TikTok, that wasn't here maybe 5 years ago. I'm not sure, but that certainly wasn't here 10 years ago. That access to that information. I think 10 years ago, the best shot you had was just doing what? A Google search.
Most definitely. You're right on point with that. I'm 58 and I've been teaching financial literacy for quite some time. But it's really we've gone from brick and mortar to click and order now. So now it's a technical world. But I'm from the old cloth, which means driving to schools, talking to children, going to corporations, talking to them. But pretty much small groups, and then every now and then I get a chance to talk to a big group. But through social media now, I get a chance to talk to multiple people, man, and the responses that I'm getting, man, when people hit you up, man, and say they really appreciate you, thank you for giving me this information. You just helped me to break generational curse as far as my finances is concerned. It's so, man, heart moving, to help people. So I'm really in the zone right now. I'm excited, man. And like I said, I just come at people straightforward with facts and give them basic finance 101 principles, because I'll tell you something. We have a lot of people out there, Jeremy, that's doing a lot of different things, whether it's real estate or cryptocurrency or stock market. But at the end of the day, we take our money and we put it in the bank. And when we put it in the bank, I'm not against banks, but we have to do smart banking. The banks in America on average give us negative 1%. So when we think about inflation right now, currently 6.8% and climbing.
Right.
So
you're losing money in the bank.
Think about that. If the bank is giving us negative 1% and inflation is 6.8%, you got to have at least 7% or greater just to get ahead today. So it's a losing equation because the banks don't give us compounding interest. They give us simple interest. So I always tell people, would you rather put monies in the bank and get negative 1%, or would you rather put your money where the bank put their money? That's where the education comes in at.
Right. And that's what, and I was guilty of the same thing, for a while. Because again, like we said, it was conditioning. When I was younger, I thought, you go to a bank, right? You're 18 years old, right? You go to the bank and you feel like you're a big boy, big girl. And you say, I'm going to open up my own checking account because I'm an adult now. That's what I do. And you get in there and you open it up and the bank teller tells you, what else you need? You need a savings account.
Yes.
You got to have a savings account. And then, hey, tell you what, we'll sweeten the deal a little bit. We'll waive the fee on the checking account. And then we'll put automatic, right? We'll put $25 out of your checking. We'll put that in savings. And, after so many years, you'll be rich or something. But we're conditioned in a way. We don't ask questions. We think, oh, that's a great idea. It'll put money aside, and eventually I'll get to spend it on something.
Exactly. And I'm glad you're talking about that, man. And this is a great interview. I'm glad you're talking about that because, see, today trading time for money, which basically means you don't really have enough time to trade time for money today. So it's important that people educate themselves because the way things are set up and the way the system is set up, people are set up to actually fail. Now, when it comes down to banking, I always tell people you have to do smart banking. And the banks itself tell you to do smart banking. What's smart banking? Smart banking is actually understanding money. And that's what it's all about. So once you understand money, man, you'll have money for a lifetime and not a lunchtime.
That's really good. All right, so let me. How long have you been involved in this in finance?
Well, I've been involved. Listen, I'll tell you this. My beginning, man, wasn't so rosy. I want to just tell you about that. It wasn't so rosy. My beginning. When I came up in the South Side of Chicago, at a young kid. My mom took care of my brothers as well as my only sister. My father passed at a young age from a heart attack. And, it was really, really tough because we had to move to the projects. And being inside of the projects, man, as a young kid, seeing a lot of crazy things going on, it was very, very tragic for me personally, right? But, I got kicked out of every elementary school and every high school. I wasn't a bad student. It was simply because I had a disability that was unbeknownst to me. I suffer from something that's called dyslexia. I was reading things backwards. So my mom, being my mentor, working 3 jobs to take care of my brothers and my sister, she worked 3 jobs. So my mom would drop us off at school. I kept getting in trouble in school, and my mom kept wondering why I'm getting in trouble in school. But she didn't know that, I was a smart student, man. The teacher could say something and I can articulate everything the teacher said. I knew everything. But when it came down to open tests or open book day or test day, man, I was frightened because when I read things, I just wasn't understanding things. So instead of me facing my disability, what I would do is create a distraction, maybe throw a chair or do something to get kicked out of the class. That's why I got kicked out of all of those classes. However, when I turned 13, my mom was going down the road with me and I was in the car, and she was trying to get somewhere, but she insisted I read the instructions. And you know how moms are, read those instructions. And I tried to read them, but I couldn't read them. Then she recognized something is wrong. So she took me to the school, talked to the counselors and stuff, and they tested me and found out that I had suffered from something was called dyslexia. And I got help for my disability, and I overcame my disability. And I always tell people, you can have a disability, but you don't have to be disabled. And I see people today, Jeremy, that have disabilities that do more than people who don't have disabilities. So I don't really, that's not a hindrance for me, that part of my life. I'm glad that I went through that because I wouldn't change it for the world, because during that time, man, I got a chance to really get a chance to know me, to know my limitations, and also know the skills that I had, and I also know exactly the talent I had at a young age. So I always use my disability as my superpower, which means whenever there's something that I'm challenged with in life, I say to myself, hey, if I got over that, I can get over anything. But I always tell people today, more people spend more time outside of themselves and very little time with themselves. So I got a chance to spend time with myself. So that's why to this very day, by spending time with myself, I do it every single day. And I encourage people right now who is listening and looking, spend some time with yourself. Get a chance to know you. Get a chance to know what you have inside of you. Because today, as you were talking about this, the system and things being repetitive happening, it's because the average college student today, Jeremy, changed their major at least 4 times. They changed their major at least 4 times. It gets even deeper than that. You see, the average college student gets changed their major at least 4 times. The average college student in America get out of college with about $28,000 debt. If they're pursuing to be a professional, anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 debt. The average person who went to college in America is still in student loan debt in their late 40s. And last year, college student loans surpassed all credit cards and car loans combined. All credit cards and car loans combined did not surpass student loan. So, it's just a matter of what I went through, man. And right now, I use my superpower, man, to pretty much help other people and encourage people to really spend time with themselves, get to know who you are, especially today. Today, people, they don't buy music, they don't buy books, they buy you. They buy you. That's what it's all about. And, through social media and technology, I'm encouraging people, come out of your comfort zone. You got something to say. Each and every one of us have greatness inside of us. And I always tell people that your dreams are not a figment of your imagination, just showing you glimpses of your future. So take what you have and bring it to the marketplace and show people the greatness that's inside of you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I can't help but think, isn't it ironic that how large of an industry, how much student loan debt there is, and it all originates from kids, you're 18, 19 years old, you're an adult, but you're still a kid, and you have from adulthood, the least financial literacy, the least financial education than probably anybody else in the country. And we don't teach financial literacy in those high school years. So you go through, or anything of real value. So you go through 4 years where you legitimately could learn these things, But we don't teach them that. But then when they're 18, 19, they are prime candidates for an unforgivable loan. And we're okay with that. Yeah, as a as a society, we're allowing it to happen. Something. There's all this talk about forgiving student debt. You know, but maybe the talk should be about just getting people smarter, so that and then the student debt issue will have to change because their business model is now different. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right about that because I see through a lack of education and disparity that there's a profit involved. So, a lot of people are making money off of the ignorance of other people. And I agree with you 100% that, instead of forgiving student loan, that's a great thing to do. But at the same token, give young people the necessary tools to be able to correct those behaviors because everything is a habit. It's a habit, it's generational, and I'm excited, man, because I believe that we're breaking that cycle, and that's why I'm so happy that people like yourself that using your platform, man, to bring attention to those type of things, and that's what it's all about, man. I'm fired up to get out there and help a lot of people. I love the fact that you're doing the same thing, man. That's why with this interview, I couldn't wait to talk to you because we'll get a chance to give people a lot of information. And that's what it's all about. It's all about information, giving people information. Once you give them the information, they can take it and use it. And that's something that I believe I'm good at. I believe I'm good at giving people information in a very user-friendly way, so therefore they can understand it, and then give them tools to be able to, get out of that condition per se.
You think that was in part because of the dyslexic? I'm dyslexic, and I don't think
too?
that. Yeah, I'm dyslexic. I'm part of the I'm part of the D club.
Man, I'm gonna call it salt and pepper, man. I love it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, but I don't thinking back, I obviously my parents knew, and I don't think that I don't remember my school ever giving me any sort of additional benefits or anything like that back when I was in school. But I had a similar thing where, you know, I was getting kicked out of schools left and right, not for the same reason. Yeah, I've been to a few, but not for the same exact reason. I was getting kicked out because I was getting bullied a lot. I was getting bullied a lot because I was dumb. Other kids thought I was dumb. There were other factors involved, but I would go to school every day and I would have difficulty learning. And I think it was a mixture between me not being able to properly read what they were giving us. I hated reading. I hated reading. So they would give us stuff to go over, book reports. I didn't read a single book until after high school at some point. So yeah. So, they would give me this stuff. I wouldn't study. I wouldn't do anything. I would intentionally, not do homework because I don't know the answers. I wouldn't do any sort of report or anything like that. So my grades were always terrible. So because my grades were terrible, I had no motivation in school. And because I had no motivation in school, I just didn't care to be there. And then other kids would poke fun of me, hey, stupid, da 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 da. And that would get me upset. And, then I got my father in my ear giving me bad information. So I'm just punching people in the face, when they're doing that. And then I'm on, one-way ticket out of there. So that repeated the entire thing. So I know that you had said that you had, they identified the dyslexia. And how old were you when they figured that out? That
13. Yeah. And,
so you still had some school left.
Yeah, 13. But it's funny, man. I'm glad that you brought that up. I mean, I don't know if you brought that up before in your podcast, man, because there's a lot of people that's going through the same thing, especially young people. And I encourage people to let the little ones listen to this interview, because there's a lot of young people out there today that's basically dealing with the same situation. I believe that there's no such thing as a bad student. I always tell people, if you don't like the fruit that a tree produces, you don't get mad at the fruit. You got to get mad at the root. So the bottom line is that if you have a kid that's out there that's having problems and challenge, just know that there's no such thing as a bad kid. It's simply because there's something that's lacking. So that's what it's all about. So I'm glad you're talking about that, because we can give the listeners some information that if they do have a kid and things are going in a certain direction, hey, take a good look at that kid and try to find out exactly what's lacking. So therefore you can help them. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So how did you finish high school?
Well, what happened was, like I said, when I got treatment for the disability, I basically went back to high school and pretty much got just some great grades. I mean, I went right to the top, and I amped not to go to college because, like I said, when I was young, I did everything by myself. I worked so many different types of jobs, so everywhere I went, man, I would start at the bottom, I would go to the top. I always knew I had what it took to really grow. Does that make sense? So what I did was, college wasn't really my motto. So I checked into college and took some courses and got straight A's, good grades. So I started at a young age, man, just basically trying to provide for my mom, because my mom is my mentor, and my family. So I worked 2 jobs. I mean, I've done everything from scrubbing floors to washing windows to helping people put grocery in cars, paper route, the whole 9 yards. And I've worked hard all my life. And to this very day, I believe that that's what it's all about. It's all about, working hard toward your dream. And I didn't let anything stop me. Even when I was in corporate America and I would start at the bottom and people were there who had degrees, I would supersede them because of my ability, right? And, so I also credit it, once again, when I was going through what I was going through, it gave me an opportunity to know my strengths and my limitations. And when you know that, you know how to work on things that's setting you back. So I got books, I read things, I was self-educated, and I got a lot of accomplishments, a lot of awards. However, throughout my journey, I always had a great love for music. I love music. And a friend of mine was working in the music industry. And my friend, he basically, said that I was pretty much his mentor, because he would come to me to talk to me about a lot of different things. And he said, hey, man, you're very encouraging, the whole 9 yards. You love music. You ought to consider getting in the music business like I am. I work in the music business as a music manager. And, I pretty much listened to it, but I wasn't really paying that much attention because I was working jobs. And then my friend came to me one day and said, hey, man, listen, we're having a tour. And why don't you come on the tour with us? I can't pay you that much money, but I can give you some money. And I came to my boss and told my boss, I said, hey, I made up an excuse. I want to take, a couple of weeks off. And my boss said, I can't give you a couple of weeks off. And I also had the vacation time to take a couple of weeks. But I was so good at my job, my boss didn't even want me to take 2 weeks off. So my boss said, hey, I can give you a week off. And I said, wow, okay, I'll take the week. So I took the week off, went on that tour, a few dates. And man, when I got on that tour, man, I listen, once again, I used my superpower. I brought coffee, whatever they asked me to do, I did it. And I began to have a name for myself within a week. Go talk to Big Man, because I'm kind of tall. Go talk to Big Man. He'll get it done for you. So that week turned into pretty much a career, because after the week, they said, hey, we want you to stay. We can pay you more. And then I ended up doing the whole tour. So that's where I found passion, in that music industry. Now, here's the grand finale. I was working so hard in the music industry, doing so well, meeting people, the whole 9 yards. There was a man that saw me on the set when I was working in the industry, and I can't say his name. He's a known guy. I don't want to say his name, but he's a very known guy. And he told me, he said, kid, you got what it takes. I see you, you're a go-getter. And he said, have you ever thought about starting your own management company? I said, hey, I thought about it, but, I don't know anything about how to start a management company. I don't know anything. And he said, you know what? He says, if you're really serious about it, here's my card. So when you get off the tour, you can come see me. So when I got off the tour, actually went to Beverly Hills and sat down and talked with him. And he basically said, hey, listen, I'll show you how to start your own management company. And not only that, we can also create a label at some point, and you can manage artists, and I'll show you how to do it. Well, he showed me the ropes in terms of, how to start a management company. I was starting learning certain different things. But once again, my strength and my power was in developing people and relationships and making things happen. But he was pretty much doing all of the business. Now, the crazy part is that we made a lot of accomplishments, but at the end of the year, when we did the math, he wrote me a check, and I looked at the check, and I was like, what the heck is this? We made far more money. So he laid everything out in front of me, all of the accounts, and he said, hey, the video shoot we did, we had to pay for that. The clothes we bought, we had to pay for that. We had to do this. For the artist, he laid all these things out. And at the end of the day, I had a little revenue for myself. And once again, I resorted to my superpower. I said, hey, listen, I'll never put myself in a position like this again. I want to learn everything I need to know about how music contracts work, how residuals and royalties work. So I got books and I started reading, pretty much underground, learning. And I overcame that situation. And the following year, I pretty much scaled back, and I made a lot of money, and I learned a lot of things, and I found passion. But as time went along, making a lot of money, because I managed a lot of notable artists in my music company. And as time went along, I made a lot of money. But once again, I didn't understand taxes, didn't understand how the money system worked. And once again, I found myself in the same position, making a lot of revenue, but owing more than what I made. And I'm like, wow, something is wrong. So I really just bunkered down, man. And I started to pursue studying again about finance, how money works, about money, the whole 9 yards. And that's when I found my passion. My passion was basically in finance, entrepreneurism and finance and helping people and learning. And I'm telling you, man, I learned so much that that's where I found my passion. So I decided to pivot from the music business, because at that time there were CDs, and CDs were doing well, but we went from CDs to downloads. When we went to downloads, the profit margin was really, really out of scope. So I decided to amp out and opt out rather, and we sold that part of the music company. And to this very day, I get residuals. But I decided to get into the finance world. So everywhere I went, if I went to a firm, I started at the bottom, I went to the top. I got so many awards, hundreds of awards, thousands of awards, from the top to the bottom. I knew I had something. So I decided, man, to start my own financial institution, my own firm. And I'm helping so many different people. My firm is military trusted. I help a lot of people who really need help. And my target, man, is really common Americans that don't really understand the basic principles of financial literacy. And I give them information, even though I have high-end clients, but my passion is with the clients that really don't know. That's what it's all about. So what I'm doing now, man, to me is really fun. I would do it for free. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm helping a lot of people, changing lives, and that's what it's all about, man.
That's amazing. So the firm that you started, I mean, what is that? What do you do? Is it financial planning?
Yes, my firm is called Aqua Financial. And Aqua Financial is a firm that basically specializes in retirement strategies as well as financial literacy. So what I do is I give, and not only do I service people about financial strategies, but I also give them the education and information about what they're getting. Because that's the missing point. It's a big difference between a financial advisor and a financial educator. See, a financial advisor gets paid to give advice. I deem myself as a financial educator. I don't charge people to give them advice. I educate people. So I always tell people, when value is made clearly, decisions are made easily. I show people value. That's what it's all about.
Right. But you said military trusted. What does that mean?
Military trusted, which means, once again, I have a passion for military. My father was in the military. My uncle was in the military, veterans. So I have a passion for those individuals who fight for our country. And a lot of military people, man, are in a bad position when it comes down to finance. A bad position. And I'll tell you something I discovered. When you have a lot of kids that was going through things like you and I was going through, at the time, there was no other place for those kids. Kids couldn't really go to college because they didn't fit in, right? So the military was a place where they can go and get some discipline and get some education and become, a whole person. So when it comes down to military, I noticed that a lot of military people are retiring or get out of the military, and they really suffer a lot from post-traumatic stress, all these different types of things. It's a lack of education. So I found passion working with military. And by me helping so many military people, I became a spokesman for the Veterans Administration. I go out, talk to the vets, and tell them, hey, listen, when you get your 100% or your 70%, let me show you what you should do with it, giving classes to them, and received an award for that, for my work of caring and helping them, and received an award for that. So my firm is military trusted.
What do you think? I can't help but think, are there certain, do you run into a lot of the repetitive kind of misconceptions that people have? Like, are there common misconceptions that people in the military have, opposed to maybe misconceptions that just a non-military, just blue collar worker might have? Or is it all pretty much the same?
It's not the same. It's two different worlds. You see, what I've noticed with military, that military provides a platform for individuals. And, we have communities that are military communities and military stores and things of that sort. And a lot of people, they get into the military, man, and it's a family. And they pretty much, they provide things. But it's a lack of financial literacy. So right now in the military, it's a big window of opportunity to get them educated. But I'll tell you this, military people, man, are the best entrepreneurs, in my opinion. They are go-getters because they have discipline. Does that make sense? So when it comes down to financial literacy, everything is about discipline. You don't have to know the most or be the best, but you have to be consistent. So when it comes down to military, they're disciplined. And I always tell people, winning is a habit and losing is a habit. And it takes about 21 days to develop a habit and at least 21 days to get rid of a habit. And military people are disciplined, so they pretty much gel with financial literacy, in my opinion, better than most people.
The discipline's a big thing, because it's consistency too. It's having the ability to be consistent in your own actions.
Right.
People in the military have that.
You said that. It's something I call my 3C's. My 3C's are my pet peeves. My 3C's are my pet peeves. See, the key to success is consistency. It's consistency. Now, once you're consistent, then you'll begin to gain confidence. We always talk about gaining confidence. You're not going to just get confidence overnight. If you're not consistent, you're not going to gain confidence. So once you're consistent, you gain confidence. Now, confidence comes by doing the same thing over and over again. When you do the same thing over and over again, you don't get bitter, you get better. And then once you become confident, now the last C is you get the courage to win.
Yeah, you get the courage to take that risk.
That's right.
And then move forward. Yeah, the 3C's.
The 3C's are my pet peeves, man.
3 C's. That's
confidence,
consistency,
and courage.
That's amazing. I love that's got to be on a poster, man.
Yeah, and
that's got to be.
It's basic principles. You don't have to be the best. You just got to be consistent. That's it. Have a routine in your life. Don't let anybody fool you. That's why I opened up by saying 90% of winning is excitement. Get excited. Get consistent. Create a routine in your life. Once you create that routine, you're going to gain confidence, because that's what everyone needs. We need to gain confidence. Confidence doesn't happen overnight. Confidence comes by being consistent. Now, once you gain confidence, now you get the courage, man, to go after everything. And that's what it's all about. I always tell people, when you become fearless, life becomes limitless.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's the big problem, is the fear. It's that fear that and again, this is another conditioning thing. It's that fear of failure. What could happen if we fail? What could happen if what we're going for doesn't work out? If that job that we want, if we don't get it, if that business that we want to start goes under, what's going to happen? And we don't know. We don't figure out what the worst case scenario is. So we just walk away from it because we don't want to think of, those kind of bad thoughts. So we don't do it. We don't start that business. We stay at the 9 to 5. We don't take that chance. But exactly what you said, it's that courage that comes from that all stems from that consistent action that builds your confidence. And that is what allows you to encourages you to take that risk and to do something, because exactly what you said, life becomes limitless once you're fearless. That should be the tagline of this entire podcast, because as long as you have that fear in your heart and you're not willing to take that chance, you will settle for a life of mediocrity, 100% guaranteed. And even mediocrity is shooting high.
Wow, man, you couldn't have said it any better. I'll tell you this. When I do my life coaching, I always break things down with people. See, here's the thing. It all comes down to mindset. Your greatest asset is your mindset. That's your greatest asset. It's your mindset. And when it comes down to fear, I always tell people it's a mindset. You can either say things are happening to you or happening for you. That's the mindset. And there's never any losses. There's only lessons. And I always tell people, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because through making mistakes, that's how we learn. That's how we learn. But we allow fear to stop us from having a routine in our life. We allow fear to stop us from being consistent. That's what it's all about. So I always tell people, I don't give fear any power. I give people the tools to get over fear. I don't even mention fear. I give them the tools to get over fear. Because once you get consistent, once you gain confidence, once you have the courage to win, now you become a go-getter, because you don't allow fear to get the best of you. Fear begins to fear you.
Right. I try to keep. We talked real briefly before we got on about our kids, and I try my kids. Well, you've got a much older one than my three, but even at my girl's young age, 8, 7, and 4. Not so much the 4 at this point, but definitely the 8 and 7. I try to get them to fail as much as possible. And that sounds so counterproductive, but I'm trying so hard to get over this. I don't know if you want to call it a dogma, but this dogma that failure is the worst thing that could happen to you, and that you should avoid failure as much as possible. I want my kids to fail. I have them doing things I know they have a 0% success rate and they will not be able to do it. One of the biggest things I have them do, I've got this massive comforter and I have them fold it one at a time. And they say, we can't do it. And I said, well, just try. And if you can't do it, it's okay, but just try. And that's a very, very simple example. But I'm constantly giving them things that they can't finish, that they can't do properly, and just pushing them to do it, because their initial instinct is that they can't. I can't do this. We can't. We don't know how. And because they don't know how, they don't want to do it at all. They don't want to give it a shot. And that's the seed of fear of failure right there. And just to get them, so I try every single day to get them to fail so that I can erode that fear out, where it just becomes a whatever. We failed. It didn't work out. What do we do next? And because going back to me in high school, like I said, I'm dyslexic. I dropped out right before my senior year. I eventually got my GED, and I didn't do much in college. I took a couple classes and that was it. But I learned that academically, I am not the smartest guy around. I'm just not. I love reading books these days. I love reading books. I love educating myself, and I'm smart in a lot of different ways. But there's a lot of ways I'm simply not smart. So I know that the only way that I'm going to truly get ahead and build my wealth and build my legacy is if I outwork everyone around me and be willing to take the chances that the smart people aren't willing to take. That's my only advantage right there, outworking and taking chances.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you identified that, because let me tell you something. When I was going through what I was going through, I became the best actor. In other words, I would pass a test, but I had to go through hurdles and loops that the average person didn't have to go through. I would have to go and talk to one of my friends and get him to give me information of how I should write the paper. I would have to go all these different loops to put everything together to be able to pass the test. And I love that because the same thing to this very day, as a grown man, I don't see any limitations at all. That's why I'm encouraging people, especially parents. I'm encouraging parents to allow their kids to dream, allow their kids not only to dream, allow their kids, man, talk to the kids and find out what they like and what they're good at. That's what it's all about. Because what we do is in most cases, we want the kids to be what we want them to be. And that may not be necessarily what the kid actually want to be. So it's really important that when you're working with kids, get an outside party. I'm a college coach, and you'd be surprised. Whenever I talk to a client, they'll tell me, well, my kid wants to be this, this, this. But when I sit the kid down, and it's me and the kid and mommy on one side and daddy on one side, and I ask the kid and say, hey, Jeremy, if you can do whatever you want to do in life, what would you be doing? The kid comes alive. Well, I would do this, I would do this, and I would do this. And the mom and dad looking like the kid don't want to do what you said they wanted to do. The kid want to do something else. But it's a lot of peer pressure. Kids are doing things. That's why the average college student changed their major at least 4 times. They get in, they think they want to be something. They don't want to be that. They change it again. Every time they change it, more money, more money, more money. And right now, today, especially for young people, that we're living in a time now where artificial intelligence, AI, is here. And you go in the bank, you see machines. You go into the airport, you see machines. You go into the store, you see machines. Jeremy, in the next 5 years in America, 85 million jobs are going to be displaced due to artificial intelligence, which means a robot is about to take people's job or even career. So we have to make sure that young people today are not paying for an education that's going out or a trade that's going out when a new one is coming in. So it's a lot that needs to be done in the areas of financial literacy, man. That's a lot. And that's the reason why I'm working relentlessly every single day to try to give as many people as possible financial education.
What do you think top things are for a parent to make sure that their kids know? If you're a parent and you don't have any sort of, you're still putting your money in the bank because you feel like that's the right thing to do, and you don't even have a credit card because you don't want to get any of your of debt build up. So if that's your basis as a parent, and you've got a child that's say 13 years old, is getting in that part where they're starting to spend money, they got an appetite for Starbucks already. What would you tell that parent that they may be able to wrap their head around that they should instill in their child?
Well, first thing I would tell the parent is this. You don't have to break tradition because we're still going to use banks. Once again, I'm not against banks. But what I would recommend all parents do is start to give their kid basic financial literacy 101. Kids are very smart today. So it's a difference, especially with my son and my daughter, how I train my daughter. I train my daughter how banks operate, how they run. And I train my daughter where the banks put their money. And by default, my daughter says, well, I want to put my money where the bank put their money. So now when my daughter does something, she makes wise decisions because she understands how the system runs and operates. So it all boils down to giving young people financial education, basic finance 101. There's a book I recommend, highly recommend, that people can give their kids. It's called The Retirement Miracle. The Retirement Miracle. Now, when we hear retirement in America, we start thinking about age, but retirement has nothing to do with your age. You can retire at 18 if you have enough asset or money. But the bottom line is that we got to give people basic finance 101 information. And we got to show young kids how money works. And that's it. It's not hard. But once again, that's a hard barrier because a lot of parents are working out there and they're doing certain different things and they can only do what they were taught in most cases. But you got to be willing on breaking that cycle. I'll tell you the reason why. This is very valuable. When I told you in the very beginning, Jeremy, I said the average American before the pandemic was 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless. and 1 out of 3 Americans in debt. An average American family cannot even handle a $400 emergency. What do you think this generation is going to pass to the next generation? Debt. Once again. So we got to break that cycle. How do we break that cycle? We got to break it down, man. We got to start teaching our young people about financial education, financial literacy. That's what it's all about. But I'll tell all of the people who are listening right now, the listeners and those who are looking, that there's 4 principles that I follow. And you can take these 4 principles. When you build a house from the ground up, you got to have a solid foundation first. Now, a solid foundation. Then you got to protect that foundation. How do you protect that foundation? You protect that foundation with life insurance. We have the wrong understanding of life insurance in America. When we think about life insurance, the first thing we think about is someone passing or dying. However, the true meaning of life insurance is to transfer wealth. To transfer wealth. Now, if I said automobile insurance, you think about a car. If I said homeowners insurance, you think about a home. But when we talk about someone passing or dying, we think about life insurance. However, there is a particular type of life insurance. It's called final expense. It's for burial. So cheap that it's not even advertised. It's so cheap.
It's the burial really is what, 25,000?
Yeah, it's a small amount. You can get burial insurance for as little as 50 cents a day, adults. Kids, 12 cents a month. In America, we see people standing on corners holding signs to bury their loved ones, GoFundMes, and all these different types of things. Lack of financial education. So you get that solid foundation. Then you go from a solid foundation to debt management. There's 2 types of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Yeah, it's good debt. Good debt if I'm paying for my children's education or my mortgage, or my business. Bad debt is wasteful spending, lack of access of financial education, credit cards, all of that stuff. Then you go from your debt management to emergency fund. Emergency fund. There's something that's called the 10-20 rule. 10-20 rule. As Americans, we should have at least 6 to 10 months of our monthly expenses saved up just for emergencies. So if a person have $1,000 in expenses a month, they need a minimum of $6,000 saved up. The 20 represents 20 times your annual salary to retire. So if a person makes $60,000 a year, my math, they need $1.2 million to retire. Not at one time, but over time. And then the last one is investments. You see how investments came last? Because if you don't have a solid foundation, no debt management, no emergency fund, you can't even invest or even save properly. Now, the average American pays every bill first before they pay themselves. That's a bad habit. You're training yourself to be a consumer. A consumer pays their bills before they pay themselves. So one of the first rules of money, pay your family bill before you start paying other bills. Pay yourself. That's important. Teach your kids how to pay themselves first. When the kids start paying themselves first, they get into a habit of saving. In America, we're in the habit of spending. That's why we're becoming consumers.
Right. Conditioned to consume. 100%. You had that. You referenced I was waiting for an opportunity to tell you one of my favorite TikToks that you put out there. It's one of the ones that stuck with me, and that was you just mentioned it. You just mentioned when you think of home insurance, you think of a home. When you think of car insurance, you think of a car. When you think of life insurance, you think of death. And I thought, yeah, that is I've thankfully over the last couple of years have gotten educated on life insurance and the power of it. And, I've got a handful. I'll tell you, I've got a handful of different insurance policies on me right now, between, I got life, between disability, all these different things. And I watch some of your videos and I'm like, shit, I got to step my game up a little bit more. I'm behind the curve still.
Yeah, and families to transfer wealth because you have to go back. It's a movie. If you go look at Ray Kroc, he started McDonald's. You'll see in that movie that he started McDonald's with money out of a life insurance policy.
Did he?
Yes. Go look it up. Walt Disney got started with money out of a life insurance policy. So what we see is that the rich and the wealthy use life insurance to carry them, but the average American uses it to bury them.
That's a very good line right there. They 100% do. Yeah. I didn't even know you could take money out of a life insurance policy a
Oh,
couple years
definitely.
ago.
Definitely, man. I want to give your listeners some great information. So important, man. We go to the bank, we put our monies in the bank. Bank on average give us a negative 1%. The bank takes our money, they don't save it, they put it inside of the market. So a lot of people don't know that there's something that's called fractional banking. Banks by law are only required to keep 10% of our deposits. During the pandemic last year, the Fed, banks wasn't required to keep zero. But now as we speak, banks are only required to keep 10% of our deposits. So if I deposited $1,000 in the bank is required to keep 100, but they invest in 9. What they invest in 9 in? Home loans, student loans, car loans, real estate, S&P 500, all of that stuff. But the banks do something that's going to come to a surprise to you. The banks are heavily vested in life insurance. It's called BOLI. BOLI. Bank-owned life insurance. Last year during the pandemics, the banks in America purchased over $190 billion in life insurance. Now, what do they do with that life insurance? They take that life insurance to cover their executives. They take the cash value that's in life insurance and they do fractional banking. They lend it out and all of it's tax-free.
As consumers, we don't have access to that.
We can do the same thing. We can do what the banks do life insurance.
Just put it in life insurance.
Yeah.
Put it in whole life insurance.
Well, I tell you this, I don't really, in all fairness, I don't really tell people what to get because I'm about financial education. But I'll tell you this, there's no such thing as bad insurance. It's the right insurance. That's why I encourage people to get educated. And the way you get educated is a lot of different ways. Look it up. Also, I give financial literacy webinars. You can go to RoryKDouglas.com and check out some of the webinars that I give to educate people about life insurance, the different types of life insurance, so you can choose what's right for you. But I'm really about getting people educated. That's what it's all about. Because a lot of people have gotten life insurance, but you'd be surprised. The average person that gets a life insurance policy in America, they get it and bury it in the closet. They don't know anything about it. We contribute to our 401ks or our TSPs, 403bs, retirement plans and don't even understand the hidden charges. So it's really about education, man. What you and I are talking about. It's about education. I'm not here to try to sell anybody anything. I want to challenge people to get educated. And I want to challenge everybody that's listening right now to a 21-day challenge. It takes about 21 days to develop a habit, and it takes at least 21 days to get rid of a habit. I'm challenging you to learn as much as you can about financial education. Get your kids to learn as much as they can about financial education, because if you do that, you're going to have money for a lifetime and not a lunchtime. One of my tags.
Absolutely, man. So I don't know too much about your firm. I just know you from the TikTok account. Do you have anything for parents, for kids?
Oh yes, I'm a college. Like I said, I'm a college coach. I'm a certified college coach. The kids are my passion, man, because I hate the fact that young kids in America, on average, get out of college with about $28,000 debt. I mean, you have credit card companies on the campus ready to give them credit cards without any financial education. So, man, I'm out there fighting and whacking away, man, of helping as many parents as possible. And I've gotten a lot of kids free rides. There's a lot of things we need to know about the educational system and the benefits when it comes down to the educational system. But I will say this here, for those people who are listening, and they can read between the lines, but commonly, when we give our kids college savings plan, once again, there's something that's called a 529 savings plan. I'm not talking against a 529 savings plan, but I have to tell the listeners the truth. A 529 savings plan is basically on the stock market. So when the market goes up, you make money. When the market goes down, you lose some money. So in retrospect, you're pretty much gambling with the kids' education. But here's the bombshell, and parents can go look it up. 529 savings plans are reported to FAFSA. So when parents are filling out their paperwork to get their kids a student grant, yes, we really need to know that 529 savings plans are reported to FAFSA. So by being reported to FAFSA, that could cause your kid to get a lot of student debt. So I would highly recommend people go learn how to give their kids retirement plans, because retirement plans are not reported to FAFSA. So our system needs an overhaul, man. A major overhaul.
Yeah, it's just, man, I put so much money into a 529 plan for when I first got started, when I first, started my business here. I it's a 529 plan. That's what you do, right? That's the 529 college fund. If my kids go to college, I want them to be able to have some sort of, pot that they can take money out of. And it seems good. I don't read the fine print, because why do I need to do that? I'll just set up a 529 college savings plan, because that's what I want, a college savings plan, until I realize exactly what you're saying. And not only that, but you get penalized. What if they don't go to college? They can still use that money though, right?
No, it's ordinary. It's backed as ordinary money if they don't go to college.
Right. Right. So meanwhile, and just like you said before, a retirement plan is completely different. You could do so I have my kids set up, and I'd love for you to step in, if you've got some suggestions here, but I've got my kids set up as employees of the business, right? So I got my kids on payroll, basically. So, but they don't get paid very much. They get paid so little, legally, I don't have to even report their income. And I've got a significant percentage of their pay that goes into a Roth IRA. So it goes in there.
Yeah, I would say this here. It's important. Roth IRAs are good vehicles because it does have tax benefits. But here's something that's really important. Once again, as I said, it's no such thing as a bad product per se, but it's the right product. Now, 401ks, Roth IRAs, these are all considered unsecured accounts. An unsecured account is an account where you can actually lose, which means it's on the performance of the market. Also, as parents, we need to know the difference between unsecured accounts and secured accounts. Secured accounts are not being talked about, only unsecured accounts. So if I have a Roth IRA and I have my kid in a Roth IRA, my kid is in an unsecured account. However, if I have my kid in a retirement account, it's not unsecured. It's a secured account where they can't lose anything at all and they get the upside. That's my point.
What do you mean a retirement account? Isn't that what an IRA is?
Here's what I'm saying.
Help me out, Rory. Help me out.
401ks, TSPs, 403bs, 457s. First of all, let's break it down. A 401k is really an Internal Revenue Service tax code.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
It's a tax code. So whenever you have a 401k, you're investing in the performance of the market for your retirement. If I have a Roth IRA, an individual retirement account, I'm investing in the market for my retirement. You get my point? Now, that's an unsecured account. However, there are secured accounts. A secured account is an account where you can't lose at all. And that falls under retirement. That's the reason why everybody needs to know this tax code. Know this tax code. 7702, Internal Revenue Service tax code 7702. Go and read it. 7702. 7702 basically says anyone that is saving for retirement in America can retire tax-free, but once again, in a life insurance vehicle.
Wow.
You get it?
This is the stuff that people need to know. They
heard it first on your show. Go look it up. 7702. Here's the crazy thing about 7702. Bankruptcy can't touch it. Creditors can't touch it. Lawsuits can't touch it. Hell, MC Hammer, he can't touch it. I don't even want to touch it. But the bottom line is there's things available out there through education. There's nothing wrong with a Roth IRA. There's nothing wrong with that. But me personally, I wouldn't have my kid in a Roth IRA because we can do the math. Historically, the market takes a dive every 6 to 8 years. The market makes a correction. So whenever I have monies in the account for my kid, when the market goes down, I lose. When the market goes up, I win. So the bottom line is that there's also secured accounts out there that you can use where you don't have to really get involved with market volatility, losing in the market. That's it.
That's massive.
Yeah.
That's, again, I'm over here, I'm doing my thing, and I'm feeling real good about it. Man, secured accounts. That's massive.
And a 529 savings plan is not a secured account.
Yeah.
So if you go back and look at the data in terms of kids having 529 savings plan, I've already looked at it. Most of those kids have college debt.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. And then the 529 has a lot of stipulations involved. Man, I just imagine if my parents set me up with a 529, that would have been a bad investment.
How do I know that? I have a 529 savings plan, and I know all about it. But the bottom line is that, we got to really start getting educated on what's out there. Even with 401ks, they used to be matched dollar for dollar. They're not being matched dollar for dollar anymore. So you got to understand, you got to start seeking for different options. And there are options out there. There's different options. But as you said earlier, it's a conditioning. We just used to the norm. That's it. That's all we used to. That's the reason why the average American falls up under 40, 40, 40 when I opened up. The average American works about 40 hours a week, works for 40 years, but then try to retire for 40% of their retirement. Most have to go back to work.
Yeah. Man. All right. So hit us with, man, this is a great podcast having you on. I mean, this has just been,
man, I'm excited.
I
think, man, you can go all night, man. You got that energy going, man, and you asking some great questions. But I really want to thank you, man. I really want to thank you for having the heart you have and doing the things that you're doing. And I have no doubt, man, that your platform is going to go in high places. But I would encourage you to stay consistent and keep this in mind. What you're doing today is setting you up for tomorrow. So don't look at today's data. Keep doing what you're doing. It's going to set you up for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Rory, so if anybody's listening to this right now and they're sitting and they got money dumping into 529, they got the 401k, they think they're doing everything right, but now they're starting to question who they are. Where can people go to figure out, to learn from you?
Well, they can just go to simply RoryKDouglas.com, RoryKDouglas.com. And they can see everything that I'm doing. Currently, we have a book that's out there that's an international bestseller. I'm excited about that.
We didn't even talk about that.
It's called Cracking the Rich Code. And it's with a few of my colleagues, Tony Robbins, world-renowned, Kevin Harrington from ABC's The Shark Tank, and Jim Britt. And it's an international bestseller. I'm excited about that. But I have some books out there. But the bottom line, just go to RoryKDouglas.com. And you'll see exactly what I'm doing. Everything is all about financial education, educating people. That's what it's all about. So I'm on a national campaign for financial literacy, And I want to get financial literacy everywhere. So that's what this is all about. It's all about education and empowerment. Empower yourself to pursue your purpose in financial education. I'm counting on the adults to that 21-day challenge. Go get some books on basic finance 101 principles, like Jeremy was saying in the very beginning, compounding interest, the rule of 72, those type of things, the 10-20 rule, the 20-30-50 rule. Learn all these concepts. And I'm telling you, man, once you start to learn the language of the rich and the wealthy, once again, you're going to have money for a lifetime and not a lunchtime. So we got to break this generational curse of passing debt from one generation to the next generation. And I'm a firm believer that we can do it, because guess what? One thing I'll tell you about Americans, tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Right. 100%. Man, and if I could add anything to that, it's just, you're not going to learn everything in one go. Stay committed for the 21 days. You're going to figure a lot out about yourself over those 21 days, what you do know, what you don't know. And I can guarantee you that the learning is not going to stop after day 21. It's going to continue, because you're going to start to learn all these different things. And that's what it was for me. That's exactly what it was for me. I started making money. I spent money as fast as it came in, and I got sick and tired of it. And I started learning what the rich people do. And then once I started learning what the rich people do, then I started thinking, well, what do the wealthy people do? And then I started learning all new strategies, and I'm still learning it during this podcast with Rory Douglas. I'm learning it today.
Yeah.
So guys, check it out. Check out Rory's. We'll put the links and all that stuff on there. I haven't read the book. Now I got to read the book.
I'm gonna autograph a copy and send it to you.
Oh man, All right,
man,
sounds good to me.
I love your energy, man. I love your energy, man. I'm telling you.
Oh man, you keep at it, man. If you're not already at 1 million, man, I'm pushing for 2 million on you and doubling up since then. From there, all right, brother.
Take care.
Thanks a lot, man. Great podcast.